me well?
Yeah.
Right on. So I have Rob from Denby View Ranch with me, and I'm waiting on Tracy from T-Hand141 to join me in a few minutes. I didn't really have anything planned for tonight, and I decided I was going to invite some people and just have a little chat about the struggle of having a homestead in the summer. There's a few different things that can happen, and there's always something happening. You want to go on vacation, the heat waves that we've had. Some people have been struggling with the forest fires. Some people like Lindsay, Ren's homestead down there in Fredericton, they've been having rain nonstop for almost like 2 months now. And Tracy is here now. Hello, Tracy.
Great.
Yeah.
So just going to say hi to everyone in the chat. We have Ren's that showed up at the beginning. I don't know if they're still here. Jack and Lindsay, I'm going to go and meet them tomorrow morning. We're leaving early in the morning to go see them. We have Maureen Washington, Divine the Dirt. Thank you for stopping by. Maryland, Little Homestead by the Beach. Wendy Benjamin is here as well. And I already said who you were, but you can maybe talk a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Sure. Did you want to go first, Tracy, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm Rob. I'm one half of Denby View Ranch. My wife is off at my wife and daughter are off at a pony club event. So it's a rally event. They're about 3 hours from us. So I'm manning the fort this weekend on my by my lonesome. And we have a small homestead up in Denby. We have cattle, pigs, horses, quail, and chickens. So, and that's what we are. We have 40 acres here. So
nice.
Cool. I'm Tracy Hand. I hope that's not my camera trying to kick out, bump in and out. But my name is Tracy Hand. I'm from T-Hand141 Homestead, the one, the only, thank God, or so says my mom. And I live in upstate New York, not to be confused with the city. And I own 20 acres and carved a homestead into it. I have pigs and chickens, and I'm about to be getting bunnies and
Oh, we lost him for a second.
You froze, Tracy. We'll get back to him. So tonight's discussion is going to be about the struggles of having a homestead, or maybe even the goods. I mean, there's still some good happening in the summer. Everything regarding what's happening in the summer, like I said earlier, people want to go on vacation. There's the heat waves. There's all that kind of stuff. So how do you prepare with your animals, your garden, everything really on the homestead when it comes to the weather in summer?
Yeah, for us, this year's been tough. I know we're probably our weather might be a little different than yours, but ours has been so hard to predict. The forest fires, the haze, the smoke. We had a bit of a drought, and then it turned to nothing but rain. It's been a tough one to prep for, but we kind of manage our animal grazing a little bit. It's a little bit more fluid depending on the weather, and especially depending on what we want to do. Like, it's the summertime, our daughter's home from school now, so we want to get out and do some stuff off the homestead as well. So we kind of try and make all the animals as happy as possibly can be, and then sneak off and have a little bit of off homestead time as well. Yeah.
So Tracy should be back in a few minutes. I suppose it just lost connection, or maybe internet is acting up. I'm asking those questions because I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning, like I said earlier, going down to Fredericton to see Jack and Lindsay. I'm going to have my parents come over, check the house. We have the neighbors that are aware that we're leaving. The only thing is, the animals are not going to feed themselves. So sometimes you have to find either an animal sitter, or the way that I'm going to do it here is I'm going to feed the animals tomorrow morning before we go. I'm going to overfeed them, give them a lot of feed, a lot of water. Hopefully they can last until we come back on Sunday. we should be back Sunday around a little bit after supper time.
Yeah.
They should be able to last. Now, the ones I have on my buddy's property, he's gonna go there every day anyway. He goes there every day and I hear static sound, Tracy.
What's that?
I hear some static. I don't know if it's you. As soon as you joined, it seemed to be gone now.
Okay, it might have been my fan blowing on my microphone. Sorry about it. I lost internet. It's been on all day. I just got home and turned everything on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about the struggle of the weather in the summer. Some people struggle with the forest fires because they have, very warm, hot weather. Some people are struggling with the rain. How do you prepare, or how do you deal with that stuff?
With the hot weather, I have an air conditioner. I can run the generator if I need to. But a lot of times I'm just running fans. Like right now, I've got a fan on here that's blowing on. Well, it's blowing on the cat right now. If the cat once the cat moves, it'll be blowing on me. But with the rain and needing of water, I have to do the back to Eden garden method, or that's what I've done here with the wood chips that hold the moisture in the ground, and I do rain catchment. I have like 900 gallons worth of rainwater stored up at any given time. So even when my well goes dry, soon, God willing, my cousin Frank will be coming and drilling me a well within the next few weeks. So I will be able to actually use well water for my, which I have a dug well, but it went dry. But that's exciting because then I'll be able to actually use the well water for garden hoses and stuff like that. It'll be awesome.
Oh, that'll be a game changer. We had to bucket water for the cattle the first year we were here, and we put got the hydrant working, an old hydrant and an old drilled well down, an old dug well down in the barnyard. Just even taking that extra 150 feet or 200 feet and having water all the time really, really saved a lot of time and energy. Yeah, I think you'll be really pleased with that upgrade.
Yeah.
It's crazy how every little detail you can do to help with, the feed, but also the water. The water is very important. I just started watching the TV show Homesteading Rescue.
Oh, yeah.
And I find every single episode they're coming back to the water problem. They need to dig a well. They need to find a way to bring the water to the animals. And for me, I just bought 2 extra hoses to bring the water straight to the animals. And it's incredible the amount of time I can save on giving water to the animals. I would have to go and fill a few buckets and, carry it to the animals. And now I can just bring the hose, put the little nozzle on, and give them water. It's nice.
Yeah,
we're so fortunate here. We've got streams that run through different ends of our property. Our property's kind of on a hillside, and everywhere where it is, these springs run year round. So when the cattle and the horses and whatever other livestock we've got some new ones on the way that I'm pretty excited to talk about soon. But anyway, when we get them out on pastures, they all have access to the stream. And we really undervalued that when we were looking at a place. And now that's probably one of the largest assets that we have, I would think, is not having to worry about it all summer.
Yeah, water for the animals and stuff. That's some, you have to have it. You can't let them go without.
Yeah, especially when you think of chicken and pigs and that. Like they're just like humans, right? They're 70% plus water. If you want your meat birds to grow, or if you want your cattle to be to feel full and comfortable in that, you need that 100% supply of fresh water at all times. That'll really cut down your feed. and I think it's something that can't be overlooked. And it's the hardest thing to deal with. I think for us, it's the most time consuming in the summer is getting the water to the chickens out on pasture.
Yeah, what I remember doing when I had my chickens free ranging was I had those little plastic buckets, like the ice cream ones or the margarine butter ones. I would just fill them out, put them all over the property, and the chickens would go around. And whenever they'd be thirsty, they could just go and have a sip of water. Because that's the thing, like you just said it. They're just like us. If we have to drink a lot of water, they have to drink a lot of water too. And we're talking about the animals, but there's also the garden. I mean, a lot of vegetables are made of mostly water, like cucumbers, for example. We have to go and water the garden as well.
Especially here, like I don't know, Tracy, I seen some of your videos and that you're getting the smoke like we are too, and that dry weather. We've been running our gardens, we're watering gardens sometimes early morning and in the evening. Plus we've got some fresh seeding of some cover crops next to the house, and we're running a sprinkler at night too, just to try and keep things moving here. It's been a tough year for it.
Yeah, and it really when you've got tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchini and stuff, and all of a sudden you get to the dog days of summer, right when your plants are starting to produce fruit and the water stops.
Oh no!
That can decimate your harvest. It really can.
Yep. And I don't know, Rob, what kind of spring you had, but here, I know for me, and it's pretty much the same for Tracy, we still have frost after our last official frost date. So we have to be careful with the frost. But if we wait too long to plant our stuff, we might not have long enough. It's a struggle with the frost as well. Usually what I do, I plant my stuff and I hope for the best. If I know they're announcing a frost, I'll just put the sprinklers on. The water will protect somewhat the plants, not to the point of not stopping the growth, but at least to the point that it won't kill them. It won't kill the plants. And even if it slows them down a little bit, then they can start growing. Like they're starting to grow now, and I'm starting to see a difference now.
Somebody that we deal with a lot, I forget who it was, said that they had their last frost was like June 22nd or something.
Wow.
It was I forget
Melissa.
who that. Yeah, Melissa. Yeah.
Wow, that is late. I think we got close to that around that time frame, but wow, that's you'd want to be preparing the garden for that. I think ours this year was the 4th was our last major frost overnight.
I know she's up in the mountains, and out west, but wow, that's a short growing season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only an hour south of you. So you can prepare as much as you want, and homesteaders have been known to adapt quickly and find solutions to problems. But there's only so much you can do if, for example, like I said earlier, for Lindsay down in Fredericton, it's been raining nonstop.
Yeah.
So they don't have the sunlight that we have here. But we've had our share of rain as well. But since I'm on vacation for the last week, at least it's been sunny and warm and nice. So can't really complain about that. But for some people like you guys, you've been having sun and no rain for a long time. So no matter what you do, like you always have to adapt. And I mean, it's somewhat easy if you have a stream nearby that you can go and grab some water. At least you can save some plants and save the animals. But if it's raining nonstop and everything is flooding, you can't really do much.
Yeah, we had fresh seeding put down. We overseeded a pasture, and it rained for like 3 days straight, washed all the seeds into a clump. I had to redo it. Now it's coming up, and it looks terrible. It's almost embarrassing, but I mean, what do you do, right? Mother Nature's a hard one to fight. So
Yeah, you'll never win.
no.
You can't. You can't. And like I said, if it's too dry, if the sun is out, it's warm, you can wait at least after supper and the sun goes down a little bit to water
Yeah.
your plants. You always have to give water to the animals, obviously. But the opposite, if it's only raining, you can't do anything unless, like, except for hoping that it stops.
Yeah.
So, how's your garden coming, guys, so far?
Go ahead, Tracy.
Slow. I'm starting to see some peppers budding and flowers on the tomatoes. To tell you the truth, my comfrey plant and my lemon balm, I was walking by. I was actually going to get the lawnmower from the storage tent, and I smelled lemon. I'm like, what in the world? I walked over, and the lemon balm is like 3 foot high, and there are 2 plants there, and they're just huge. So I've got to start collecting them. And my rhubarb's doing really good. But my beans are coming. I want to plant another succession of beans. My Swiss chard is not looking very good at all. But
Us too.
everything else seems to be doing fairly decent.
What's your tomato situation like? Because it's been a tough year to transition those. Ours, you put a pile of them in, and I'm not. The outlook's not good. We've been just trying to salvage it. Let's put it that way, I guess.
With me, I had what I have. I had 50 tomato plants. I had my the ones I really wanted to do good. I had a lot of lawn keepers, but then the giant crimsons from MI Gardener, I was really looking forward to those, and I don't think any of them made it. Right before I started hardening them off, they had a growth spurt under the grow lights, and they just started getting real long and lanky. I damaged some of them, moving them in and out. And then when I transplanted them, I didn't have a lot. I did go and buy some plants, and then I had somebody drop off a bunch of plants here for me. And I still, to this day, I think it was my neighbors across the road. So they might have saved me on tomatoes. But yeah, if it weren't for buying plants and all, I don't think I'd be able to make a pot of spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, we started all ours from seedlings. The Romas seemed to transitioned okay, and a few of my giants did all right as well. And we planted them in the best soil I could find, which was in the winter cattle pen. The pigs churned it up, and then I planted my garden in it. And that was our tomato garden. I've got a few giants doing all right. A few of the Romas are doing okay. Some of the other ones didn't take the switch from the inside, like our little sunroom greenhouse, to the outside too well. And that was a lot of it was just the unpredictable weather. Snap peas, I know Jenny's got a better update on the garden than me, but the peas are incredible. We're doing really well with them so far, and our beans are looking good too. Also, we've got wild thyme and mint plants next to the barn that they were there before we got the place, and they keep coming back every year. And this year the mint plant is like 3 feet high, and you can smell it anywhere in the barnyard. So it's kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I found a lot of different kind of mint, and I planted them. There's a place between my driveway and the front of the house where it's a little hill, and I hate mowing the lawn there. So I figured I'm just going to plant mint and let it spread, and then I won't have to mow it anymore. Like, I don't mind walking by, getting out of my car, and just smelling the mint. Like, I have strawberry mint, banana mint, ginger mint, mojito mint, all like 7 or 8 different kind, really.
Did somebody say something about a cookies and cream mint or something to that effect? There's a chocolate something or cookies and cream or something like that. It was.
I
That'd
have
be
some chocolate mint, and I have some after 8 mint.
yeah.
Okay. Because they're just starting to go crazy with the mint, man. Hey, man, let's pizza.
So we found out because I was looking at it. Did you know that the mint plant is actually poisonous to ruminants? We didn't know that. Something we were looking up because I'm like, it's next to the barnyard. I think I might, it's kind of getting almost out of control for where the barnyard is. Like it's it's 3 feet someplace. It's just thick mat of stuff, and we usually let the pigs run through, but there's so much mint this year. I said, well, we better double check, make sure it's okay for them. It turns out it's poisonous to ruminants. So
Oh, wow.
I said, well, I guess we're gonna have to pick it all, which is fine. But hey, it don't matter to us. But it's just a neat fact that I learned this week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. Did the elderberry tree that I gave you and Kendra, is it still alive? Still
I
doing well?
believe Kendra's got it planted. Yeah, I was over at Kendra's today, and I didn't ask, and I meant to. But I was there. We got their old 4-wheeler running for Jay and them, so that their daughter Hannah can learn to ride. So I just didn't ask her too much about the gardens. So yeah, their garden is always though. So.
Just a quick comment for the people in the chat. If you have any questions, either tag me or put the question in cap locks so that I know you have a question for the panel here. Okay, so my next question would be, we all have different situations where, Rob, you're doing more homesteading with a family. I'm home. I have the kids to help me and my girlfriend a little bit, but the homestead mostly relies on me. And Tracy, you're homesteading alone at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you plan on going on vacation? What's the work that you have to do? It's not only about finding someone to watch for the animals, but there's always preparation to do before that as well.
Do you want me to start that one, or I'm probably going to ramble on a while? We've got a few different breeds and species here, so
Go ahead.
That's all right. Ramble.
All right, I'll try and make it an organized thought at least for you. So, first thing for us is the horses are the easiest to kind of set up. So we'll give the horses a large section of the field, and the horses stay in with just a minor inconvenience. So they get a large section of field and access to the stream or one of the streams, so that we know that they've got everything they need and a bit of shade and shelter underneath our apple trees. So that's what we do with the horses. The cattle, we give them a larger than normal because we do regenerative grazing, so usually it's tight. We give them a large space. I have an area of pasture that has bush cedars mixed into it and really good fencing, and we'll give them that whole section so that I know, okay, we can leave and spend the night somewhere else and come back the next morning, or whatever else, and they're going to be okay. My pig waters are good for 3 days. They're homemade ones that make out of rain barrels, so that's how we organize those guys. And I have automatic feeders. So the hog feeders I have 2 different sizes. The larger one can hold about 200 pounds of feed, and that's fine for my 2 sows and my boar to last more than about 4 days. They'll go through that 5 days because they'll go crazy because usually I have them on a feeding allotment. But anyway, so that's how I set them up. So I know the water is good for 3 days, so we can do 3 days without that. The only issue is the chicken and the quail need daily monitoring, but we have neighbors next door we can ask that have chickens as well. So we're fortunate that way. That's kind of how we set it up. And the gardens, well, the gardens are kind of if you can convince someone to water them for you. If not, I don't know. You just hope for the best, I guess. Give them a real good soak down before we leave. And that's about all we can do. And then you just pray that all the animals behave while you're gone.
Yeah, you don't want to have someone watching over your pigs and having a pig escape the enclosure they're in.
Absolutely.
That's our setup anyways. Like The girls are, 2.5 hours away. They're camping for the weekend with the ponies. So I've got the farm set up pretty well here. Tomorrow I have a birthday party for a friend of ours' son is turning 1. I've got to go to it, and it's about an hour and a half away. And I'm going to go out tonight and have my conversation to myself in front of the animals and try and convince them to be good while I'm gone. They will, but if something's going to happen, it's usually when you're gone, right? So.
Of course.
Yeah. With me, if I'm leaving for like going to the conference, I had my nephew come up and stay, and he had a list of things. You prepare what you can. The chickens, if they have like a big feeder, and I fill that up, but they're gonna eat all that they can right away. But they're free ranged, so they're fine with it. My nephew being here is kind of more a people deterrent than a homestead care thing. I'm a back to Eden garden, so I don't usually water. The pigs, when I went to Canada the second time because I got addicted to poutine, and
It happens fast.
yeah, the weekend after, or the very week after I got back from the conference, Trevor and I went up riding, and I had my neighbors come over and just check because of humidity, and I found a whole 55-gallon barrel full of pig feed from last year, and it was still good. But with the humidity and everything, I wanted just to make sure that the automatic pig feeder didn't get plugged up, and because we got the 55-gallon drum that goes into the troughs, and it really worked well. So I had my neighbors check that, and pretty much everything else. I didn't like doing it, but I just left the chicken coop open, just a little enough for the chickens to get in and out, and took a chance, because the predators I hadn't been. Now I did get back, and when I went to mow the lawn, started finding coyote poop all over the front lawn, so that wasn't good. But they didn't get any of the chickens.
Good.
I've been lucky on that end as well. I forgot the chicken coop open. Well, the main door, the chickens can't come out, but the main door, if a raccoon or a bear was passing by, they would have definitely been able to get inside and get my turkeys and my chickens. Where it's located on Sarah's property, it's basically black bear kingdom. We've seen some black bear tracks last year. It's all around apple trees. The front door neighbor keeps saying that he sees black bears in the field just like 100 feet away from us. So the black bear is there. They didn't go in the chicken coop. They didn't go after the chickens at all. So I'm hoping that they have enough food that won't go after my chickens. I lost my first chicken today, meat chicken. I'm pretty sure it died from a heart attack. It had all the stomach was like blue, purple, and it seemed like it was a fresh death. So I'm guessing this is what happened.
Remy, are you feeding them 24 on, 24 off, and what weights are you at now on them?
Well, I give them food. It's 24/7, but sometimes I get there and they're out. But it hasn't been more than a few hours, obviously, because I go around supper time every day and I fill their bucket. But sometimes I get there, if it, you're busy, you do something else. I get there, I'll just make sure they have water. I look at their bucket and they still have like at least half feed. They're good to go. I'll go the next day, and sometimes they're out of feed. There might be a few hours without feed, but
We find that I was going to say, we find when they get that 5 to 7 pound mark, we feed 12 hours on where they have access to feed, 12 hours off, but they're out on pasture, so they have access to forage around. That saved us from having those heart attack issues. quite a bit actually, because the Cornish crosses, they're prone to just eating and having all kinds of health problems.
Yeah.
But
I'm
that
due
might
to
be.
butcher them next week, so.
Oh, you're right. So you're that close then. Well, that's normal then. You're gonna have.
Yeah, I like to have them at least 5 pounds. That's always what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I have anywhere between 4.5 and 5.5 right now. So
That's perfect.
yeah, they should get that extra half pound.
Yeah. That's too good. That's the right size. A lot of people don't realize how much meat there is on a 4 or 5 pound chicken. You could feed a good family for that for a few days.
Yeah, well, we're a family of 7, and we eat a whole chicken, and there's not much left. I'm not gonna lie, there's not much left, but there's always at least like a leg left for my lunch the next day or something like that. A little bit at least.
Yeah.
Comfrey and don't want to mow that hill is a good idea.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to share about summer? Either what you do when there's too much heat, rain, vacations, just summer in general, because there's the garden, the animals, and all the weather, but there's a lot of work to be done. There's always projects going on, and you're trying to deal with all of that. And some of us are working. I know you're having an Airbnb to take care of. I know it's not necessarily always a lot of work the way that it's fixed, but you still have to go there and clean up and that kind of stuff. So there's always something to do.
Yeah. Sure. I'll let Tracy go ahead. I'm gonna feed my old dog is crusty and she wants me to give her dinner time. I don't know if she's turned 9 and she's decided 8:30 is her dinner time, and now she's gonna whine at me if I don't. I'll be right back. My apologies.
All right. Yeah. In the summer, as I say, and I don't know. Trevor says he doesn't think people believe me when I say I'm lazy, but I am. I usually wake up, I work on my YouTube stuff for a couple hours, and I go outside for a couple hours. And I need to put more time into weeding my garden. It's really easy to weed, but once you start getting the weeds, they love the wood chips. They travel through the wood chips, something fierce. And then the different little projects. I was hoping that by the end of July, I would have my new sheds, which are going to be a coop and a pigsty, and then I'll be able to get my rabbits and other meat birds and stuff. I don't think he told me when I talked to him the other day it was going to be after July when I got them, because he's right now I see they cut a bunch of hay, and then it was sprinkling when I went down to Port Leyden to visit my mom. And he's Amish, so it takes him a little longer to do everything. But it's really cool to see the 2 and 3 year old kids out there just throwing up those big bundles of hay and wheat and stuff that they do. But yeah, and I just keep finding projects to do. I can always work on my compost. My one thing that I finally got down pat is my grass clippings. When I got this new mower, I got the bagger with it, and I've got a huge pile of compost. Now my problem is I don't have any brown to put with the grass clippings. So I've got to get a big thing of sawdust, which I want to do once I get my sheds here, so I can use it as bedding. And then in the heat of the afternoon, I come inside and sit in front of the fan, watch YouTube.
Yeah. Our summer, usually this time of year, usually I'm cutting hay. So we try and cut hay like first week, second week of June, which is way earlier than most people here, but gives you the best the best quality for the livestock feed, so I do it then, and then I'd be on to a second cut around now. We chose not to cut hay this year. We're going to buy it in instead, feed the land a little bit instead of take from the land. That's the plan. And with the price of diesel here in Canada, it's almost just as cheap to buy it in at this point. But talking about previous years, haying for me, we hay with an old sickle bar mower and an old John Deere tractor. So it's 8 feet at a time. And it takes a long time. So my days are usually 10, 12-hour days. As soon as it's dry enough to start cutting, I cut until it gets too damp to continue cutting. And then it's raking and tedding and baling, stacking, loading in the barn, transporting, equipment breakdowns, which are inevitable. Mm-hmm. So usually my summer is full on for those weeks of haying. That's all I can do. And Jenny is running the complete farm herself, which includes moving the livestock, and we try and move our livestock every day or two. We graze differently depending on time of year, so it gets tighter sometimes, shorter, it depends on the season. Sometimes we're moving them twice a day. That takes it doesn't seem like much, but an hour or two in the morning, an hour or two in the afternoon or the evening, like that's a good chunk of your day gone. And it's regardless of the weather. So I did a little short a few weeks back talking about farming at night. With this heat and the smoke seemed to go away at night. So for the last little bit, we've, it's pretty well been done in the dark. Wait till the evening and we do all our stuff in the dark. And that's worked out okay. It's just being flexible and adapting is what's allowed us to try and manage our summer stuff. Not haying this year is allowing us to work on the barns. I spent a lot of time this spring milling lumber, and it's dry enough now where I can start rebuilding that tack room, which is off the end of our 200-year-old barn. That's needs a new floor put in and some tin. So the lumber that we milled is pretty well ready to go. So I'll be into that next, and that will consume most of my days. Unfortunately, it's right in the heat of the summer, but what do you do, right? So it's got to get done. Yeah.
There's always something, and it needs to get done. You said it. It's not, sometimes we can think whatever we want. We can try to push it down the road and, say, I'll get to it later. But then you realize, hey, it's time to do it now, because you can see all the other projects coming in.
Yeah.
And
what about firewood?
Yeah. Just on a daily basis. I went to the community garden earlier, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna water the garden. I take everything out of the hose and the little buggy and start, unrolling the hose. And as soon as I get at the end, I hear the thunder. I'm like, okay, well, I have to get that back in, start rolling back in. I'm like, oh, well, after I was done, it's like, okay, it's not raining anymore. I'm just going to go home, eat supper, and go feed the animal later on. Later on, it was raining even worse. So I should have just gone and done it right away. Like, you do your stuff right away, because if you keep pushing it, even if it's only on a daily basis, you get caught with weather, you get caught doing something else, you get caught. Some people come over, you're invited to go somewhere, plans change, and you end up not doing anything. So it has to get done.
That's a big one too, Remy. People coming over. I know for us, like, we sell we sell the surplus meats and vegetables and stuff from the farm here to just provide a bit of income back into the farm. And it's all direct farm sales. So sometimes we'll do a market setup on a Saturday or whatever else, but then you get people dropping by the farm and having a visit in the summer, or relatives passing through. And I have friends coast to coast, and they travel a lot, and a lot of them were military, so posting season comes up, and when they travel by, they stop in, and you're trying to get something done, and you're having a visit, but you're like, oh geez, this is putting me behind.
Yeah.
And you can't really say anything, right? Like, you don't want to be rude.
Well, yeah. The other day, Trevor looked in my car. He says, oh, wow. He says, what'd you get from Rock Auto? And I said, those are my brakes. He says, well, they ain't doing you no good here. I said, well, Trevor, you told me. He explicitly said, and I quote, this time, put them in the car as soon as you get them. So I put them in the car. They're on the passenger seat.
A little question here I wanted to answer. Mint jelly, mint tea. How else can you use mint? I've used it in a salad, and I don't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a guy, the outdoorsman or something like that anyway, and he harvested wild mint, and he did something with it. Like he fried them with like battered eggs or something like that, and flour, and fried them in a pan. And I guess it's super good. So there's a few different ways. You can look it up online, and you'll find a few different ways.
We always make, well, I mean, you can make mojitos. You don't have to add any alcohol to it, but, you know, a cool mint, I guess it's like a virgin mojito. Having those in the summertime to cool you down, a little bit of ice in them, they're an excellent drink, and it's free, right? You don't have to add sugar or anything really to it. So
take ice water in a pitcher, put in a couple lemons cut up, and like a small handful of mint in there, and on a hot day that will hit the spot with some nice ice in there.
Does it ever? Yeah.
Hi, Dave. Marilyn's saying last time we went for a few days, we had a house sitter, almost stress-free since he had to take care of the ceilings inside too. And that's another thing. You don't think about those things, but if you go on vacation in the spring, you have all those ceilings to bring outside, back in, back out, back in.
Yeah.
Maureen saying at Homestead, mostly alone. My oldest kiddo helps when she's available, but I also only have an urban farm, so only chickens as livestock. I only have chickens, turkeys, and rabbits, and I only keep a few rabbits and layers at home. But I find it's the ones at home that are causing me, I don't want to say more trouble, but the fact that they're here and I'm home and there's TVs, there's a phone, there's internet, there's all that kind of stuff. As when I go to feed the animals on Sarah's property, there's no connection, nothing whatsoever. So I go there and I'm like, okay, well, I'm here. I have nothing else to do than feed the animals. I go, I feed the animals. But once I get home,
that couch has got a gravity of its own.
Yeah, it does it ever. I find it around 2:00 every day, I think. Yeah.
Well, especially when it's warm. If it's in the plus 30s, over 90 Fahrenheit with humidex, you don't feel like going out working too much.
No.
I love the land. Every day is going to drive for 8 hours here. They'll look after the animals. They'll forage while here and enjoy different scenery.
Nice.
See, that's another way to do things. If you have someone taking care of your animals, you can tell them, care for my animals, keep the eggs, go in the garden if you see red strawberries, red tomatoes, take them and bring them home.
There's an option, Remy, and Tracy, that I don't know if you guys might have heard of it before. I know for us out here, we had a friend that farmed using it. He used a program called Woofers. It's students and individuals looking to live on an organic farm through Christian Farmers of Ontario, and they come out. They live at your place. You feed them. There's no cost to you, but they just want to learn about homesteading and gardening and interacting with livestock and farming in general in an organic manner, or basically it's a back to nature program. But they were an elderly couple. They liked to vacation a lot. And they had some good woofers over the years that allowed them to, they teach the woofers through the first part of the summer, how the routine worked, how they move the animals, the livestock. And then they were able to travel in September-ish timeframe to go away. And the woofers got to run the farm as if it was their own for a month. Worked out really well for them. Yeah. And for any other homesteaders that are like that, that might be an option for you guys. I don't know about If it's, I don't know about programs outside of Ontario, Canada here, but that's just Christian Farmers is the one that does it in Ontario, Canada. Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. Well, it would not work for me because we don't harvest enough food from the land to feed ourselves. So we would eventually have to pay from our own pocket to pay for someone else. But for someone with a big land, big farm, definitely worth it. I can't see what would be worth it. Hello, James. Pudding is definitely addictive.
Yeah.
We've been finding tracks and scat within 20 feet of our coop and raccoon prints on the coop wall, but we've been lucky so far. Yeah, predators is another issue that we can have on the farm. Having rabbits, they're mostly in the cage, so they're not the issue. If you have chickens, there's always weasels, raccoons, something trying to get in, foxes. Is there anything around you that can go after your bigger animals? Rob, you have cows, you have horses. Is there anything specific that you do to protect them, or is there no danger for them?
So we've selected a breeding program for us. So we have what we call like the protector cow in each herd. So when we split the herd, even like right now, my herd is split for breeding, and I have one of my bulls, George, who will go after a threat in with the heifer group. So he's in there doing breeding, but he's also the one there that's the protector. And in my main herd, we have one cow who is very much so the one that will go after a coyote. She'll go after, a bear or whatever else that's there to protect them. Her name is Baby. Surprise, she's my daughter's cow. You can lead her by rope, but you can tell when the coyotes are around because when the dogs come down, especially in the early morning or the evening when we're checking in, we bring the dogs. She forgets that they're a dog at some point. She'll run at them and then realize, oh, wait a minute, you're not a coyote. So we know when the predator pressures are up. And as for the horses, well, our little pony has turned one of our coyotes that hangs around the farm into a three-legged coyote. So he limps pretty good, but that coyote hasn't bothered anything else on the farm. So there's no sense in me getting rid of him because he's not, you get rid of one problem, you're going to enter, something else is going to come. And right now he's not causing me an issue anymore since his run-in with our pony. And my mule too is super protective. We have a mule with the horses, right? And she was in with cattle as a protector before. She does an excellent job. Mules, donkeys, livestock guardian dogs, we don't really have. We have cattle dogs, but I hear they work well too. And I did a spring bear hunt this year because I know the bear population was super thick around us. So I joined a neighbor, and within an hour and a half, we seen 3 bears, and we took one. So that was just a way of kind of keeping the predator population down a bit.
Yeah, plus it's extra meat in the freezer.
That's right. So it fed him for 100 pounds, 150 pounds worth of meat or whatever it turned out to be, right? Yeah.
My biggest animal are pigs, and right now I don't know, they might be 30 or 40 pounds tops. They're not very big. So the bear that my neighbors saw in their driveway the other day, if he had a mind to, he could make a meal out of them. The chickens, I have fisher and mink and weasel and raccoons. I haven't seen that one raccoon since no, I did see him once since I shot over his head because he is too far away anyway. But yeah, my chickens I worry about more than anything because we do have coyotes and stuff, but they usually don't mess with the pigs. The chickens they would. The guinea, I noticed the guinea is limping and he's not roosting. He's staying on the ground. So I don't know if that was an encounter with one of the roosters or if because I know the guineas have defended the flock when we had 3 of them against a coyote before. which really impressed me. I want to get some more guineas. I'm down to one.
I like them. Yeah.
Except when they sit under the window when you're trying to watch a TV program and just
They are loud. Yeah.
they're loud.
Funny thing is, at my house here, the biggest issue I have is mice.
Oh,
They
yeah.
go in my garden, they eat my strawberries, they eat my trees, they eat the bark of my trees, they kill my trees. But anything that's sticking out of the ground, whether it's strawberries, carrots, radishes, if they can see it, they eat it. I was removing the weeds from my strawberry bed, and I could hear a little squeak. You know what they do, like every time. And I'm like, okay, well, there's something going on here. Like, what is it? And I saw a little pile of hay in a corner. Took the little shovel, flipped it up, and there it was, mice nest.
Oh,
You have to get rid of it, right? Like,
yeah.
They're a nuisance, and they cost a lot of money for us here too. I mean, we have, I have some classic motorbikes, like dirt bikes and stuff, and our equipment, our tractors. And every time before I go to take something out from its spring or fall sleep or winter sleep, or in being the snowmobiles, they've eaten an air filter or a fuel line or wiring or whatnot. And our neighbor's got a pile of cats, and they don't seem to keep them down. The only thing that's, believe it or not, we have a weasel that lives in our barn. I call him Frank. That's his name. He doesn't bother the chicken, so I don't bother him. I think he's the only thing that's keeping my rodent population down. And we've got a problem with chipmunks eating our feed too. That's really annoying. The chipmunks and red squirrels, right? It's a hard one to get rid of those kind of pests. Rodents are really difficult, Remy, especially to get rid of it. I hear you on that.
That coyote might help with the mice too. If he says, okay, I'm not messing with the big animals anymore. You know what? I'm even going to leave the chickens and stuff alone. But they do eat a lot of mice.
So question, when we work a payroll job, we have breaks. When you're working for your homestead, do you take a break?
Personally, my boss is an idiot. He won't let me take a break. No, I take a lot of breaks. I push myself hard because I know once I come inside, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
And so I do push myself hard, but I work at a slow, steady pace. I'm not factory farming or anything like that. At this point in time, I can supplement even my garden. I can supplement with store-bought food, but I try to work at a decent pace. But then, yes, I do take breaks as far as come in, grab a bottle of water, and go right back outside. If I take my boots off, it's not good for whatever I had planned to do. But
I set goals like that too, because I'm the same way. Like, I know that whatever I do, what I have to do that day, the night before, even, I'm going to plan what I need to do. And my wife is opposite. Like, she can putter away at different tasks and forward throughout the day, where me, I have to start it, finish it, and then I'm done for the day. And I'll push myself as hard as I can until it's done, and then I'm done. Maybe that's not the right way to do it, but my boss isn't great either, right? It's me. So what do you do? Yeah. And
my boss is worse than yours. If it's too warm, I don't have to work. If it's too cold, I don't have to work. If it's raining, I don't have to work. No, but I think it's important that you take breaks. Even like I was, tilling the garden and working out and, planning stuff. And I made a short video about myself hanging out in the kids' swing, just laying there, taking the sun. Almost fell asleep, but the boss didn't see me, so it's all good.
Well, yeah, and this lifestyle is all about the journey. You have to take time to enjoy the journey, and you'd be surprised. I weeded a third of the garden the other day, in shorts and I sit on a milk crate and I use a 5-gallon bucket. I came in that night and I didn't realize it, but my knees up between my shorts and my knees got seriously sunburned. And man, that'll keep you from wanting to go out again for a while. That can really screw up your motivation.
I find too, getting motivated is a big one, Tracy. Like me, I'm a mechanic by trade. Like I'm not a carpenter, and I have a big building project on the go. And oh man, I'm telling you, we're having a union meeting in my head most days, trying to talk about how we're going to get through that project. The motivation is hard, especially when you've got to ask yourself, like, there's not really a monetary benefit. It's just like, well, it's going to work out better for me if I get this done, right? And that's what I find makes it difficult. Yeah.
And also, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm like, okay, I've got to hunt down the tools, which I know exactly where they are, but I got to pull out all the tools. And then if I run into a problem, I got to do this, that, and the other thing. And then I talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not good.
I've gotten better now. Like, all my tools used to be stationary, but my farm, like, everything's on a hill, and I had my tools in the shop at the top of the hill, and everything I needed was down the bottom of the hill. So now they're all in bags, and I could throw them on the 4-wheeler or in the truck, and everywhere I go, the tools go with me, and that increased productivity.
Yeah.
And talking about breaks, I think it's important to take breaks, because last year I struggled at the end of the season. It was too much because I stopped doing sports. I didn't spend as much time with the family as I should have. I was always out either in the garden, weeding, harvesting, preserving, or I was out fishing because I wanted to bring food on the table. This year, I told myself, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to start playing ball again. I'm going to start spending time with the kids again a little bit more. That's why we're going on a 2-day vacation this weekend. It's just a matter of, if you don't take these breaks, your head can't handle it. I mean, we're not Superman. We're just humans.
And the worst part is that people tend to push themselves more than any boss ever would, right? You're always going to push yourself harder than what an employer would be able to make you, I find. For us, like, we have Sea-Doos, and we hadn't used them in 2 years. I hooked them to the back of the truck, and then the rain came, by the way, Tracy. That was all me. I put the Sea-Doos on the truck because I was going to use them, and then it rained for 7 days straight. But we plan on using those at some point, and they've been on the truck for like a week and a half. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get out there. But it's really got to, like you really got to plan and prep and prepare to get away to do those things. And that's the hard part, eh? Yeah.
There's a lot of people that joined. I didn't say hi to everyone, but I show your message on the panel here. Hopefully that's good enough for you to understand that I'm saying hi back. Mice heat the mix above and turn into little hairy plaster sculptures.
Oh, the oatmeal and concrete?
He had plaster and chicken soup, he said. That seemed like a neat mix idea.
Here.
They love the rolled oats, the dry rolled oats, and if you take and mix that up with cement powder, it'll. But man, that seems like a bad way to go to me.
Honestly, they've been eating a lot of 22 bullets out my place lately, but that's
And the worst I've seen was Jack and Lindsay. I talk about them again, but man, did you see their video when they had those rats coming out?
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
They've got all those dogs, but what is it? Is it terriers that they used? They literally used down south. They would have weekends where they would have the community come to your farm and bring their little terrier dogs, and they would have rattings or something like that. Where these terriers will go down in to nooks and crannies in the barn and kill rats and bring them out. They look it up online. They got pictures of hundreds of rats just laying there dead.
It's crazy, yeah. And in my home right now, balcony, so I work on things throughout the day. Do you think cayenne pepper will deter the mice?
Tried it. I know that's for you, Remy, but I'll let you answer, and then I'll share our experience.
Well, go ahead, because I have no idea.
We tried it here, and it didn't seem to work in the barn that much, because all it did was it pushed the mice to a different side of the barn, which was fine, but the squirrels didn't seem to care, especially the chipmunks. So, and again, the mice population is easier to control because I have you put the pop can on the barrel with a bit of peanut butter, and that takes care of the mice, but the squirrels and chipmunks are too big for that. So the cayenne pepper I heard worked. We just found it pushed the mice, but it didn't work for the larger rodents.
Yeah.
You have to take breaks and do self-care, not to exhaust yourself and suffer burnout. Exactly. And that's what I forgot to do last year. Plaster cheaper than cement, though.
Yeah. Oh, and Remy, about you taking breaks, you're not going to break my heart if you don't break 1,000 pounds on this year. Since you're on the opposing team and all.
I don't want to. Well, let me check. Right now, I am sitting just a tiny bit under 300 pounds.
I hate you, Remy.
And I didn't get my moose license, but I was fortunate enough that my uncle got his tag, and he's inviting me and my dad over to go hunting with them.
Nice.
So success rate here is about 95%. Well, officially it's like 80 to 85%, but I keep saying there's the people that just want to go out and have fun. They don't even go hunting. There's the people that have more than one tag. They might get like one or two moose, but they'll let go of the last tag. There's the people that just go out and want to have the big bull. They won't even shoot the cows.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a few unlucky ones. There's always the people that apply for a tag that will not go because they just want to save an animal. So I'm pretty sure like the real success rate is like 95%.
Yeah.
So in my head, I can't imagine not getting a moose.
We didn't get no tags for them, and it's terrible because they're everywhere here. We had 15 guys apply and nobody got a tag again. The new Ontario system sucks. I might not get a tag for 10 years.
So they switched to what we have here.
Yeah.
Kind of. Here, the first 5 years you apply, or the first 5 years after you've had your license, you're in the first ballot. And then from 6 to 10, you're in a second one where you have a little bit more chances to get drawn. And then from 10 to 20, you have a certain amount more chances to get drawn. And then if you haven't had your tag in over 20 years, it's like almost guaranteed you're going to have it. But I mean, you want to wait 20 years to go moose hunting?
Yeah.
No. We used to get calf tags. Everybody would get a calf tag. And then if you had 10 people, your chances 10 or more per draw would have a better chance, and so forth. We'd have 20 guys apply at our gang, and everybody would get a calf tag, and we'd get either a cow or a bull tag out of that. And every year, the first morning, we would fill those, one calf and a cow, or a calf and a bull and a cow if we were really lucky, and we'd be done. And we didn't even put a dent in the moose population. There's so many of them here. I don't know if they're pushing further south now. And when the moose come in, believe it or not, we find just from what you see, they're pushed the deer population out. So it's not managed right in our opinion here. It's going to get worse too.
Yeah, and we've been trying to let them to make them understand that even if you made people apply by groups of 2 or 4, if I apply with my mom and dad and my brother, there's 4 of us. And they're like, no, there's not going to be enough tags for everyone. You just have to let the same amount of tags if you want to, but just make people apply in groups of 4. So instead of having 2 or 3 tags per group, you'll have a maximum of 1 tag per group.
Yeah.
Because you have 7 people in your household, Remy, and does a quarter of a moose keep you going for the year in moose meat for most of the year?
Not a quarter, because we do eat a lot of meat. But if we have at least like 150 pound of meat from a moose, we'd be all right for a year.
These are big animals though too, right? Like you guys got bigger moose than us for the most part, and you can split that up quite a few ways. Even if you had 4 or 5 families to split it, everyone's not going to get a full freezer, but you're going to share something. It's better.
Well, I ended up with about 125 pounds last year, and the moose was split in 4.
Perfect. Yeah.
And Remy's got good eyes too, because we were driving along and I'm like, hey, Remy, did you see that deer up there on the right? He says, did you see that moose back there in that swale hole? I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I go hunting with some friends of mine sometimes, and they're like, yeah, don't worry, I can see the grouse, or I can see the animals, don't worry. And then I'm like, hey, did you see the grouse right there, like on your side behind the tree? What? Like, yeah, it's right there, go check it out. But last year I went hunting with Serge and Jack, and since Jack is so tall, he was able to get on top of a stump, and you could see just the rack of the little bull running in the bush. He was like, it's either a moose or a deer. Get out of the way. We don't have that many deers here. Like, it's a moose. Get out of the way. Let me go and take a look. There was one, and unfortunately I missed. But yeah, I told my dad and my uncle this year, you guys shoot. Because you're allowed to get a second shooter on your tag. You have to be together, or at least at shouting distance from each other. And I told him, I'll go. I'll call it out. I'll get him to come to you. Just don't miss like I did. I was calling last year and got 4 bulls to come in the same cutting at the same time. It's just that I had one that was on the ground. I thought it was dead, and suddenly just got up and ran. Boom. Like, I had a nice shot on this one right there. This one was dead from what I thought, and nope, just ran away.
Yeah. Well, hunting's great for filling that freezer. It's a big part of it, and I'm planning on making my preparations on the farm for fall. I'm going to put the extra effort in and the extra time so that I can sneak off and go and go put some hunting in this year and fill my freezer with a little bit of wild game again. We did 5 years basically. Well, I guess it would probably be 3 years where we didn't really buy red meat. We only ate red meat of what we hunted. So that worked out really well. You know, we get a moose and a deer, and if we didn't get one, someone in the hunting party would make sure that everybody got enough, right? Everybody got something. We really enjoyed that
story. I just have to go for a second.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we did it, and that's what transitioned us into raising our own livestock. But you know, it's nice to get away for the hunt, especially for us in the fall. I don't know what your season's like where you guys are, Tracy, but for us, it's usually the first week in November.
We don't have a moose season here. We're starting to get moose coming back, and it's a big deal. People go to take pictures of the field, and then you always got that person that tries to get really close to get the picture of the moose, and you're like, okay, I got to get this on film because it's going to be a tragedy or a victory, one or the other. And but I can get a deer with archery, which would be a doe or a buck, a deer with muzzleloader, doe or buck. I can get, I usually, because I'm a disabled veteran, I get my doe permit for rifle, and then I can get a buck with rifle. I think it's like 5 deer total for the year. Usually I haven't hunted in several years. because just everything going on.
I
And
know, same as me. Yeah.
Yeah, my hunting party kind of. Trevor and I were members of a hunting club up on the high part of Tug Hill, where you don't see very many deer, but you know, I shot a 200-pound spike horn. I mean, it was a huge deer, but it was a young deer.
Yeah.
But that's in 3 years. You know, that was a $600 deer. But so Trevor kind of lost his desire to really hunt. We got into rabbit hunting and stuff like that, which is easier. You don't have to worry about scent or being quiet. But this year, you know, I'm doing the Shed Wars thing, so I'm gonna try to get what I can.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I need some more venison jerky. I want some steaks, some backstrap. I miss my venison.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to use it for sure.
Yeah.
We use a lot of grinding meat here. You know, macaroni, spaghetti, salsa, nachos, tacos, pizza, hamburgers, shepherd's pie. So many ways to use it.
Yeah.
Same as us. And we've got a grinder, and you know, we've got two actually. We've got one for the KitchenAid mixers, and it works well for anybody wondering about that. You can grind all kinds of stuff with those KitchenAid mixer kits. We just purchased one. We're really happy with it. And we have a meat saw with a grinder attachment on it. And ground meat's perfect to put in the freezer. It's good for any meal. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the comments? We got all kinds of them.
Yeah, well, I was reading Gardening Warrior Q is because we're both in the global gardening and homesteading community on opposite team. So, so she's saying he plays for the enemy. Use plastic traps, and last August I caught 20, which equals 300,000 rats that I prevented in the area.
Wow.
That's crazy when you think about it. If I have rats here, it might be 15,000 rats around. I don't even want to think about it.
We used to my wife and I. My sister-in-law had snakes, had a boa, and we used to raise mice for her. And yeah, they definitely reproduce quickly.
I haven't seen one here on our farm. We've got the squirrels, and honestly, I think between the weasel, the coyote, and my neighbor's 15 cats or whatever at our farm, they keep them down pretty good. So, but yeah, if the barn was full of rats, I might crank the timing back and let the tractor just sit in there and smoke out. Put the diesel smoke to smoke them out of the barn. I don't think I'd want them in there.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
My head is seeming crooked. What is going on?
I'll have to catch up on the chat a little bit more. Build a cage in front of your truck and drive fast on the back roads. Roadkill is legal.
A buck with my truck. A buck with my truck. A doe with my bow.
Yeah.
One tag for 2 people sounds reasonable. Even one tag for 4 people would be all right in my book.
That's a lot.
Out our way, we were happy with one tag for 15. That everybody went home with 30 pounds of meat. Yeah.
Well, that's about what we get for a deer. We go deer hunting. We get a deer that's about 100, 150 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
For 3-4 hunters together, we split in 4.
Yeah.
Get about that. Yes, smash the like button. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there should be a bulldozer attachment for your truck up there, then scoop them right in the back of your truck back roads.
We call them snowplows.
Yeah, snowplows,
I know Magellan shared the links earlier. You can go and check them out. Denbeeview Ranch and Tracy T-Hand141. They have awesome channels. You're going to learn a lot for sure. I'm sleeping in front of the screen, guys. You are not boring, but I'm too tired to stay. Have a great night, everyone. You're probably not right now, but take care, Magellan. Thank you for stopping by. All right. So, what would be the hardest thing for you to do in the summer? What's the or the thing maybe you hate the most doing in the summer?
Ooh.
Hate the most.
I hate leaving the farm, to be honest, in the summertime. You just never know who's stopping in. I mean, we got livestock and stuff out on pasture, and there's we back onto a highway. I'm always terrified somebody's gonna jump in to take a selfie because that's the world we live in now. I hate leaving the farm in the summer in general. I just, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. I just, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I hate leaving it. I hate leaving the homestead at any time. I'm gonna have to say the inside work in the summer. The dishes. If you guys have a significant other, give them a hug and a kiss. Because Wendy used to work with me outside. She'd come in like an hour or two before me and I had no idea all the stuff she did. But apparently it was a lot because now it ain't getting nobody's doing it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of my wife because she does all the cooking and she only asks me to do the dishes. So I forget how much time it takes to cook a good meal every night. Yeah.
I love cooking on the barbecue. This is probably one of the things I love about summer. It gets so warm in the house that you have to just cook whatever you can on the barbecue, right? I was lucky in New Brunswick. There was this little thing that NB Power did. If you made under $70,000 a year, you were eligible for a free heat pump.
Nice.
So Tuesday they were here and installed a heat pump, an air exchanger, and new thermostat in every single room here, which is awesome. Now they're digital instead of just being the little wheel that you have. And I can see exactly the temperature in every single room of the house.
Nice.
The heat pump is a blessing.
Was that thing that you sent a picture of?
Yep.
That was because I thought it was like a vacuum sealer.
No. A little bit too big for that.
Well, yeah, there was
picture.
The picture didn't really show.
You vacuum seal a whole side of pork with it.
Yeah, I use a vacuum sealer for strawberries. I have about 20 pounds of, I had about 20 pounds of strawberries harvested. I probably have around 8 to 10 pounds in the freezer right now.
Nice.
Strawberries are so good.
Yes.
They're so good. Soon it's going to be raspberry, blueberries. Usually the garden here is kicking in mid-August. Mid-August is when we have like squash, zucchinis, cucumbers, tomatoes. Like everything just happens at once. For now, all we have is a few radishes, strawberries. The lettuce is starting to pop up, starting to grow a little bit more. But beside that, we don't have much at this time.
We just finished our rounds of like all our butcher dates for pork, and that like all our spring butcher dates are finished up, and the last ones were in June. So we've got a few freezers full. You know, a lot of the stuff gets sold, but you know, all my pepperettes are in now, which is, you know, I got a 6-year-old, so she lives on ranch dressing, vegetables, and pepperettes. So we've got our pepperettes in now. We got sausage to make, some homemade sausage. So on those days where we can't get outside, we do our own homemade sausage here, and it'd be nice to do them up on the barbecue. So our harvest season that way for meat has been it's been fruitful this year. We did well. So and next, our blueberries, we just checked. They're not ready yet. I think we're going to be maybe 2 or 3 more weeks at least before we start seeing them, but they're looking good. Yeah.
I'm going to have a bumper crop of blackberries, because when you clear an area here, the nature just tries to take it right back over with berries, which is not a problem. And then if I can get to them before the birds do, elderberries. I've got elderberry bushes coming up everywhere, and I'm trying to figure out if they are the app says that they are the black elderberry, which is a good thing. But there's European, which you have to boil before you use, and then there's the American that you don't have to boil before you use. And I'm really hoping that these are the American. Oh, nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we've got Remy give Kendra at Plowman's Backyard and Jay and us an elderberry bush, so she's got it going for us. So maybe we can harvest some of them in a few years. But I did notice 7 years ago we planted apple trees at our we have a cottage about 10 minutes from the farm that we rent as an Airbnb. So since the girls were gone, and we have a friend of mine that's staying there this weekend, I did the grass cutting and that, and I noticed that for this would be our 7th year, the apple trees are just full of apples. So now I've got to do the pruning and stuff, and then it made me check all my apple trees and orchards on the farm here, and wow, I think we're going to have a huge crop of apples this year for whatever reason. They're doing really well. How are your guys?
Mine, I had some blossoms on one of my grass, and then the one that's in the pot had some blossoms, but nothing came of them at all. My apple trees, I think, are only like 4 or 5 years old.
Okay, so there'll be a bit yet then. Yeah.
Mine are not doing so bad, but the big one I have here, there's one that's a little bit older, probably harvest about 50 pounds a year of apples on it. For some reason this year, I don't see as many apples, but then again, it's been growing more on the high side. I didn't prune it when it was time, and I just let it go. And it's a bummer. Just get there in spring, in the snow, like
in March of all times, eh?
Yeah, like here it's you have a bunch, like you have maybe 10 feet of snow, and suddenly boom, summer. There you go. And you were talking about mowing the lawn, and that's probably my biggest issue here. And it's not that I hate it; it's just that we've been having rain for 3 weeks straight, nonstop. And once that was done, there was like, where do I go now? I have my rhubarb growing in the middle of this field. I have some elderberry trees that are just about a foot high. I have some goji berry trees that I just planted. A few Camrys, honeyberries, or hascaps, depending how you call it, everywhere in the field. How do I go and cut the lawn without cutting my trees, without cutting my plants? That's the big struggle for me right now, because I have to go mow the lawn, and I'm just afraid to do it.
So would you guys laugh if I told you I haven't started a lawnmower here in 3 years? But I have. I don't. We just fence it off for the horses, and they clear it up. Literally right up to my front step and everything. The horses do the grazing for us, or the cattle. And so Jenny got a chance to go out to greener pastures ranching, and I don't know if you ever seen Greg Judy, but she went out to do a seminar with Greg Judy in Alberta a couple weeks ago, and they were talking a lot about mowing grass and weed control and soil content, and that's something that we're pretty into here. So we don't cut the grass really at all. Like I'm at the point in my life where I don't really care what the neighbors think, kind of thing. But we notice such a difference in wildlife, the soil's ability to hold that moisture content by just letting that grass grow that little bit longer. Now, even at the Airbnb, I leave strips of wildflowers for the pollinators. And I think the neighbors think I'm lazy, but that's fine. We'll leave it at that. And I leave those strips, and then I cut what is needed, and it keeps that grass so cool. And then, I had someone do my grass a year or two before, and just noticing how hot it is on your feet when you walk down to the water, compared to what it is when you have the grass. It's just a huge pet peeve of mine. I hate cutting it. I hate it. It's such a waste of money to to put that into a lawnmower. I mean, you can do so much with grass. We just let it go, and then we feed it to the horses when it's time. Yeah.
My lawn, I just bought a riding mower with a bagger because I'm getting older. I'm trying to get set up so I can take care of stuff. But the first time I mowed it where at the level it told me to, that the lawnmower had it marked, and it was way too short. Because I have heel all, I have clover, I have all this stuff that is coming up in my yard that is medicinal, and like you said, for the pollinators and stuff. So I mow it either one or two settings higher than it calls for. And I'm always driving by these places with the HOAs in Rome, and I'm like, my gosh, they're scalding their grass. It's yellow. It's uglier. If they just leave it a little bit longer, it would be able to shade its roots, hold in that moisture, and make a big difference.
The optimal for your grass and your forage for us, now talking livestock here, but this is going to go for anybody with ruminants like sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, horses, whatever. 6 inches is optimally where you want to keep that grass. Now we graze it at 6 inches, and we try not to let it go any lower than that. I mean, sometimes the horses have different jaw sets. They can get it lower, sheep, but you leave that at 6 inches and it's going to come back so quick. It's going to keep all that moisture in the soil. It's going to keep that plant basis going, like dandelions and stuff can still survive, and your clover, and your strawberries too. Like we have wild strawberries throughout some of the fields, and that 6 inches is kind of the key number on the grass.
Joe Salatin called it a salad bar.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Because it's all that top 2 inches of grass, because he rotates every day and stuff. That top 2 inches of grass, it grows back in the week or two or whatever. But while he rotates them, he said that's all prime stuff for them. They love it. They're eating the top-notch stuff.
We've done a lot of my stuff on that is on our TikTok page. My wife does it. And she just did that seminar with Greg Judy, who is another huge guy in regenerative agriculture. She flew out to Alberta and did it, and with Greener Pastures Ranching was hosting. And that's what they said too, like just keeping that grass higher. I wish the whole world would cut their lawns just a little bit higher. It would make a huge difference, but it's just a pet peeve of mine, I guess. Yeah. There's nothing more I hate than sitting on that ride-on mower.
It's a question for Tracy, but I'm going to turn that question for people in the chat as after. What are you doing with your elderberries? I only ever had them processed. Flowers can make nice tea or be battered and fried.
Personally, I'm looking for, I want to do some tea. And with the berries, I use them I make cough syrup. And because what I do is I go to the hippie store, is what Wendy used to call it. I want to go to the hippie store, she'd say, which is the natural food store. And we would get this big jug of vegetable glycerin, and you would soak the elderberries in the vegetable glycerin in the sun for a few weeks. I forget exactly how long. And then you would strain that out, and then you would mix in 2/3 of the vegetable glycerin that has soaked in the elderberries and 1/3 of cherry bark tincture. And it makes a cough syrup taste almost identical to the stuff that you buy in the cough syrup you buy in the store. Yeah, my mini Branson. Honey, I shrunk the Branson.
So my question for the people in the chat, or maybe one of you two would have the answer. I found some wild red elderberry on Sarah's property, but we don't know how to use it. I've heard some people saying it was edible if you cook it. I've heard some people saying that it was not edible. I want to be sure before I do anything with it. So would you guys know what to do with it?
I've never had red elderberry, but I know we've when I lived up north in Goose Bay, they had red berries up there. Is that a similar thing, or I don't know? They look like an elderberry kind of, but they called them red berry. They made red berry jams out of it.
I know I looked it up earlier, and it depends on the site you go to, whether, a lot of them say that you can't use it, and some of them say you just have to process it.
Yeah, that's what I read too, and I'm not sure.
It's scary when you really think about it, because you don't want to poison your family. Red elderberry uses. Let's see what.
Karen, I am 100% sure that it is elderberry.
It's used in a natural medicine for many purposes, ranging from sinus infections, used in a nasal spray, to lowering blood pressure, preservatives, including jams, jellies, as well as wines and teas. I think the biggest thing is, like with the European black elderberry, you have to cook it. You have to lower, I want to say it's cyanide. I'm not sure on that. There is a toxic element to it that you can cook out of it.
Toxic. That's what it is, cyanide.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure to ID them correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure on them. We have some red berries on the farm here too. We need to get an ID on, and it's scary. Eh? You don't want to mess that up.
And be careful with the apps on your phone. They are wonderful. They really are, as a starting point. But I had one of the apps, I forget which one it was, that I took pictures of my black elderberry, and yeah, it told me this is either elderberry or water hemlock. Well, there's a difference between a wonderful cough syrup and a painful death. Yes. Water hemlock will kill you.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Let me see if I can put that on screen just to show.
Oh, there you go. South Florida Sunshine's Garden. That's awesome. She said that her husband cuts it higher, like you were talking about, and it's thicker. And yeah, 100%. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So this is what I found.
Oh, okay.
And they're red berries. I know they're not ripe yet, and I know they're not ready yet. Don't get confused. These leaves here is not what it is. They're actually attached to this tree back there. So these leaves. So I know they're elderberry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the opposing leaves, direct opposite each other. Yeah.
So I know they're elderberries. I am not 100% sure if they're red or black. From what I understand, there's not many black elderberry wild trees around here. So I'm guessing they're probably red.
The white flowers are the native ones, Dave says. Well, that's good, because I got the white ones. That would be the American elderberry, and that would be wonderful. But now I know there are cultivars within that there's oh, I had it written down. Oh goodness gracious! There is the Adams that have the reddish on the branches. There's the York that doesn't have red. There's a native that doesn't have red. And the Adams and the York both have fatter leaves. So I'm pretty sure I've got the native, but it's something I think I will process them, cook them just to make sure it won't kill me to get rid of maybe a little bit of flavor and possibly some of the nutrients. But if I survive to do it again next year, that would be a plus.
You got it doesn't hurt to be extra safe, right?
Right.
Yeah, never eat something you're not 100% sure of what it is. Never. Because you only need the one time.
I wish I knew that once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any saying that they're poisonous when raw, but edible when cooked. I never tried it. That's what I read, but there's a lot of contradictions on the internet about it.
Yeah. The Cowboys used to have a saying, everything is edible once. But it just might not be edible the second time.
Yeah. Looks like dog's bloodberry, but that is just Central America.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I'm in northern New Brunswick, so it's probably not that. I have some black elderberry here, but I have never have the time to pick some. The birds always first. I have 5 different black elderberry trees. 3 of them are the same type, and I bought 2 more after the conference. I wanted to have 2 different varieties because I know that you need to have at least 2 different kinds for them to propagate properly, to grow properly.
Yeah. Last year I was so excited. I'm watching my elderberries, and they're darkening up, and I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'm picking those bad boys. I went out the next evening, and there were some red and green ones left on the thing that weren't quite ripe, and I'm like, oh man, the birds took every single good one there was.
That's us with our corn and the raccoons. It's just like, oh, the corn's going to be ready. It's almost there. And then it seems like the raccoons know that it's gone before you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying this year the aluminum plates or anything shiny to scare away the birds. Hopefully it works. Those are Pink Hands, Lark's Homestead. Thank you for stopping by. I just wondered if it is related to something up there, though. Did you try it in some of the search engines? I tried it with the Google application on the cell phone. It's definitely showing up as red elderberries. I showed the pictures to a friend of mine as well, and she's very good with any foraging things in New Brunswick. But she did tell me to be careful because she also, from what she knows, they would be toxic. But she heard recently that if cooked, they could be edible. So she's doing some more research on them, and we're going to keep each other posted because we're not 100% sure. So we're not going to eat anything until we know.
Right. I was helping Miss Grace. She's an older lady that I've known for years. Since she used to be my Sunday school teacher back when I was like 4 or 5. And I was helping her on her lawn, and we found these. This is a picture I took. And it looks to me like chicken of the woods, and the apps say it's chicken of the woods, and then there was another name they called it. And I just need a little bit more confirming before which they've grown too much this year to be really good for cooking. I guess you're supposed to get them when they're small and young.
Yeah.
You can always send me the picture, and I will send it to my friend. She's very good, so it would give you at least a second opinion on it. It looks like chicken of the wood.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm terrified of the mushroom stuff myself. I defer that to my friends. I got friends that they're into it, and I'll leave that to the professionals. I guess I'm a little bit too chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was afraid too, and about this time, well, a little bit earlier last year, I say my friend, I met her out through Facebook, Jessica. Um, she's a big forager. She does a lot of foraging classes and stuff. And what she said changed my mind about the mushrooms. There are more plants that can kill you than mushrooms, especially
Yeah.
at least for my part of New Brunswick. There are no mushroom in the world that you can take in your hand that will hurt you. There are no mushrooms in the world that you can lick and it can kill you. Like you can, as long as you don't swallow it, it won't hurt you.
Okay.
Um, Now, I'm not going to try just for fun because I don't want to, take it.
Just find Remy 3 days later naked in the top of a tree.
Yeah. But I started with the easy ones. I asked people locally what were the easy ones to look for, and they all said chanterelles and the
Yeah.
lobster mushrooms. The lobster
Okay.
mushrooms, I can identify them pretty easily. Once you get to see once you see them once, you're good. The chanterelle, there's a few lookalikes, but once you see the lookalikes and the real chanterelle, they're so easy to differentiate that you can't go wrong. I'm pretty confident with those as well. Now,
Only kind.
chicken of the woods are new ones to me. The oysters are different too. But I'm hoping to be able to learn a little bit more. There's a lot of things that we grow up foraging that we didn't even know that it was called foraging back in the days. Wild strawberries. I see some people posting on
Yeah.
Facebook questions
No,
about wild strawberries. I'm like, you guys
yeah.
don't know that, but like we've been eating those since we were like 4 or 5 years old.
But we have
Hazelnuts, blueberries.
gooseberries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or choke cherries, they call them up here. But yeah.
Choke cherries. My mom used to make choke cherry jam. The
Yeah.
only mushroom I really had any experience with identifying when I was a teenager were the ones that were hallucinogen, and I don't do that anymore. But
Always gardening prepping might know. I'm also going to send a message to WildEdibles. She might know.
Yeah, I'll ask some questions. We have a family up near us that they're a vegan family and they do a lot of food forest foraging. I'm gonna ask them some questions too, and they're kind of my deferred go-to for when I have questions on mushrooms.
yeah.
Thanks. My wife will not try mushrooms.
Are you trying to kill me again, Dave?
Canadian man licks a shroom and ends up naked and afraid on top of a tree. Can you imagine? I don't want to imagine. Around us, morels and puffballs are common.
Yeah,
Puffballs, we get those a lot.
Yeah,
But I never notice them until they puff.
Yeah, they can be tricky because what did they call angel of death or something along those lines. Trying to remember the name, but apparently when they're small and they're just starting to come out, they look exactly the same as puffballs, and they don't have that name for nothing. They can literally kill you. That was my experience last year. I went out for a drive in the woods, and my teacher, well, Jessica, was giving me a course, and I'm like, okay, so I have to go out and find some different things and try to identify them. So I go out, take like 5 pictures, mushrooms, berries, and stuff like that. And I show her the pictures, and she's like, "You picked the 5 deadliest things you could take pictures of in New Brunswick." Like those red berries will literally kill you within seconds. This is like the deadliest mushroom we have. I'm like, come on now. So now I just have to make sure I
Well,
pick the stuff that looks good.
there is a way. You touch it with your hand or with your fingers, then you wait like 6 hours, then you rub it on your skin and wait another 6 or 8 hours, and then you touch it to your lips and wait another 6 hours, and then you taste, you swish it in your mouth, and basically it takes like 48 hours in a survival situation before you can tell if something, and you can't do it. You can't like say, okay, this berry I'm going to do this with, and then this berry, because you have to know which one you're reacting to if you get a reaction. So
Yeah.
just to find out if one berry bush is edible, it can take you like 48 hours. By then you're starving and the bird's got all the berries.
True. Understory with Cliff Serrentin as a channel and does talks in New Brunswick. Nice. I would like a couple of chokecherry starts. We have a few chokecherries here growing in the wilds. I guess they're very good to make wine.
Yeah, so my nanny, she's passed away now. She made jam out of it, jam and wine, and that was the two main things that we use them for. There's a spot near me in Douglas, Ontario, and it's very like limestone and a lot of rock there, and it seems like the choke cherries grew really well there. If I ever get back down that way, I'll have to get some starters for that.
Nice. So the mushroom I'm talking about is Angel of Death. It looks similar, but has coloring inside. It's probably more like a yellow
Oh, okay.
color on the inside.
And
Puffballs
that
are
and that's when it's solid, right? Because I know with a puffball, when you step on it, it's like a bluish, grayish puff of smoke comes out.
Yeah, well then that's when they're probably like
They're no good to eat.
not dead, but going like sporing,
Yeah.
spreading. Cells last year, was it last year or the year before? We had a big puffball mushroom about the size of a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can take a knife, slice them up as like you would with a steak, and
Yeah.
cook it like you would with mozzarella cheese or something like that, and I guess it's very, very good.
Wow.
Barbados cherry tree loaded with flowers, and then we got hard rain, all gone. Yeah, I'm gonna have cranberries soon. That's pretty awesome. It's the first time I ever have cranberries around. Can't wait to try them.
Yellow.
So they are edible when they're solid and white. The puffballs. We had 3 like that last year, and I guess when they start growing in a specific spot, if you're careful, you can have mushrooms growing there every year. I froze a gallon container of black raspberries. Will be done on the weekend. I can't wait to try them. I have some here that Annie gave me. Blackberries from Angie, and black raspberries from Annie, and yellow raspberries.
We have the yellow ones. Oh man, they're
Good?
ever better. They're so good, Remy. Wait till you try them.
Oh, nice. Can't wait. I tried different strawberries this year for the first time. Is it the pine berries or the strawberries that are white?
Pine berries, I think, are.
I think that. Yeah, I think you might be right on that. I'm not
They have a
certain.
different taste. Definitely something different. It was pretty cool. And the strawberries where the flowers are pink. I saw them at a nursery nearby, and of course, the girls wanted to have some. I bought the roots. It was like $30 for 25 roots. Planted them all over my garden beds, and I have a few strawberries popping out already. So they taste pretty much the same, but the white ones are definitely different. Hard to find. My husband's uncle had a wild patch of black raspberries down in Ohio. He went to pick them for his chili, and they had cleared up the land.
Uh,
Um, I almost got that lucky. Well, my father-in-law ended up with his father's land house, and they had a very old barn. And behind the barn, they had gooseberries, rhubarb, and I think it was red currants. And it told me I could go and get whatever I wanted to get, and I could harvest and take bushes, whatever I wanted. But I got there, the barn was destroyed, and I think everything was pushed on the berries, so I couldn't find anything at all, except for the rhubarb. The rhubarb were huge. Um,
Sorry,
I,
guys. I'm just stepping outside. I got to tree for the chickens.
no problem. Black raspberry jelly is one of our favorites now too, and we have been cut off.
We used to, when I was a kid, we would go. We had power lines running
got
across the road from the house I grew up in, and you could go up on the power lines and pick blackberries. But now everything is posted, and the electric company doesn't want you on there, and now a lot of people hunt, and you get that stuff late summer. Um, so people are scouting and stuff like that.
we've got old stone fences all throughout the property, and the raspberries grow up there really well. And then there's a spot down near a town not too far away here it's very sandy, and blueberries do really well there. So we're very fortunate that way. We can basically pick as much as we want. We just found that we planted those yellow raspberries and they're ever bearing. So all summer long, they keep coming back, and wow, they taste great. Yeah.
My dad owns about 75 acres of land, and there's a bunch of wild apple trees growing for about, I'd say about maybe 1/3 of the land. My goal, and of course I never have time to do it, so I say it's almost more of a dream than a goal, but I want to go and clean it up and be able to go and harvest those apples. We pass by when we go grouse hunting. There's always like bear poop, bear trails, but the apples are so good. Like I want to go, and I'm gonna try to go and take a walk with my snowshoes in the spring and get some cuttings and try to grow a few ones because they're just the best.
Yeah. It's nice to find those spots because every year you can go back to them, right? And as long as you maintain them, they're pretty good to have. Yeah.
There's a place that I hunt where it's like an abandoned apple orchard. You have some of them are bitter apples and some of them are really sweet, but they're small. And I've always wanted to go and prune some of those trees so they'll make a bigger fruit. But I know that as soon as I prune the trees and they make a bigger fruit, other people will find them, and because it's state land, and I'll never get any of the apples.
Yeah. We have a similar situation out here. There's a farm not too far from us that's an abandoned homestead. The lady that owns it, she's super nice. She's a friend of the family's, but anyway, they live in the States. They live in Pennsylvania, so they don't come up a whole lot. And that place has a huge apple orchard on it. And it's just getting overgrown, and every year the apples are getting smaller, and we'd love to prune it, but the exact same reason why, right, is people trespass all the time on it, and they just pick it clean. So,
but I might try to take some cuttings and root them. Try to get them to root.
Yeah.
There are a couple methods to doing that, and now I know with a graft, the branch that you graft onto the tree keeps at its age. That's why I had blossoms on the grass that I did, but I didn't have blossoms on the tree because the branch is the graft is older.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I would like to, I don't know how that would work with it, with rooting them, but
It's encouraged apparently. I've never done it, but I've watched videos because at one point I'm like, oh, I really want to do this because that's a goal of mine, is to get more apple trees in the ground in a spot I've cleared in the bush.
Yeah.
I've cleared about an acre there, and I'm setting up a little micro piece of farm there, or a micro piece for my pigs, and I want to have the apples close to it. Because for us, a lot of those bitter apples and stuff, the smaller ones or the ones that are damaged by birds or whatever, they feed the pigs. And last year, like, we had to have 250, 300 pounds of apples like that were just, they fell early, or they weren't good enough quality for what we were looking for, but we fed it to the pigs. It got to the point where my boar would literally push them to the edge of the pen. He didn't want to eat no more apples anymore. But you can't beat them when you get a good tree, and I really want to try grafting. There's a lot of information on it, and I think it's really difficult to accomplish, but I wish I knew how. That's a skill set I need.
Check out Paul Gauchi, the Back to Eden Garden. When he gives tours, if you look, he shows, and the way he does it, he cuts one in a point, and then he just takes the blade of his trimmers and just cuts a slit, and then he puts the cheap black tape around it. And it really, I had 2 takes so far.
Wow.
But he gets into it. Now, his apple trees, it's amazing because it almost looks like they're bowing to him because of the way he prunes them. There's like a branch that there's a branch that's maybe 3-4 inches wide, and it's bowing down, and then there are some branches that come off that, and they are loaded with apples, good size apples and stuff. And now he is in I forget what they call it, in out west in Oregon or Washington, where his average temperature is like 50 degrees.
Okay.
Now he does get snow and stuff like that, but when I found that out, that made it a lot more sense to me how he was able to grow everything, because he's got like wasabi growing next to blueberries.
Really? Yeah.
Which is supposed to be total opposite on the spectrum of what they need for soil. And he's using the back to Eden method and stuff. He's just a fantastic gardener.
I got to get into that. Yeah, we've gotten okay at growing we can grow our protein sources. We're completely independent. We grow all our own proteins, and we're really trying to get into that gardening. And we're good with the apples now. We'd like to add a few more just for livestock feed more than anything, and then just a bit of surplus for us, because our apples are really getting up there in age, and they've been trimmed back every year. We've shaped them. It's taken 4 years to get them where we want, but they're there. But I need to get into that. I'm going to check his channel out then and do some watching, I guess, instead of reading.
Yeah. Any interview with Paul Gauchi.
Yeah.
Just for your information, on Amazon, the grafting kit is only like $30.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You get like the cutters and the tape and elastics and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Yeah.
My grandfather had one apple tree, 5 different kind of apples on it. Every time he found a tree he liked, he would graft it on his tree.
Yeah.
That must be nice. I have a few wild ones here, not too far. I have to go and do it. Some white apples, some golden delicious. Golden delicious, I love them. They're so good.
Oh yeah, we got them here, and oh wow, they're so good. Yeah.
Just every time I go, the bears have been there before me. I don't want to go before grouse season hunting starts, because I want to carry a gun when I go. I don't want to go without protection. Palm Beach County, I have ever bearing mulberries and filled blackberries and raspberries for me. He's a propagate.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you guys got the sunshine and the weather for it, eh?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And grew a little fruit tree. Talks about keeping many fruit trees through pruning.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll have to look for that. Grew a
I
little
used to
fruit-
live in Mulberry, Florida. Well, for a summer. That's where my dad lived when I visited him one summer.
Nice. Well, guys, I've been on for about 2 hours. I have to get up in about 6 hours and drive for about 4 hours. So before I go, is there anything you want to conclude on? Anything you want to give, advice you want to give to the people watching, maybe people watching on a replay, how to prepare for the summer, anything specific that we might have forgot that you want to talk about?
I think having a support system really would make a difference. A good, well-trained support system. Invite your friends or neighbors over and teach them how you do it. Show your farming. Get your videos done of your chores so that it's a foolproof setup for someone. That would be my takeaway.
Yeah. If you have the support system, it would be so much easier. My nephew has this is like 3 times now that he's made it possible for me to leave the homestead. But now he's about to get a real full-time, well-paying job because he just graduated from school. But yeah, I would say find somebody. There is an urgency in the summer and as you get later in the summer because you're preparing for winter. And when you're depending on your homestead to get you through the winter, there is an urgency, but make sure you take time for each other, take time for yourself, and enjoy the journey because that's what the journey is for. Maybe not to enjoy, but to just your accomplishments, relish in your accomplishments a little bit. Wow, I did that. That looks good. It's important.
Agree with that. How about you, Rami?
Well, from what I've learned from you guys tonight, for sure, having good surroundings, having people to help you out is very important. Be prepared. Always have a plan. Like I mean, of course, even if you have a plan, plans change. But to have, maybe some ideas of what to do. Like I said, we're leaving. We have some people taking care of our animals while we leave. And it's not only the animals; it's the whole homestead, the house, the animals, the garden. Um, Luckily for us, we're not leaving for too long, and we have my parents nearby. They can come just for a few drives here and there, make sure everything's all right. It's just get ready, get some stuff prepared. That would be my takeaway from it.
Right
So it
on.
was nice to have you here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Much appreciated. Thanks for having us, and it was great to chat with you guys again. I hope you have a very productive summer, and best of luck in your Shed Wars competition.
Thank you.
Team Will It Grow?
Team
Right
Aquarius.
Yeah.
All right, take care, guys.
Have a good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Have
Thank
a
you.
good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.